well. So when we say that we have built the machine learning model, now the question would be like, where will you deploy this machine learning model and how the deployment happens? When we say the machine learning model is built, we know the process of machine learning, right? It is right from data collection, that we collect the data collection. This data collection can be done with the front end application as such, where the application can be a web application, or it can be a desktop application, it can be an IoT model, or it can be a something with respect to the data can be in the cloud, where we collected the information through some marketing, whatever it might be. So the first step is data collection. After collecting the data, we work on something called as data cleaning, right? The data cleaning in terms of how the data is required. We try to work on the data where the missing values are there, which data is required and which data is not required, and how to transform the data. All this on a high level we can call as data engineering. Okay, or data engineering is what we can mention in a high level. Okay, data engineering in the terms of, we can say something called as now we can also say like a feature extraction is also one of the kind, where we also say which feature is important, which feature is not important. All these steps would be done in the second level. Next, after having this, we try to understand like, okay, so in this data, what information we can gain? That is your exploratory data analysis called as EDA. This EDA can be done using visualization. This EDA can be done using pandas. This EDA can be done using the statistics as well. So keeping all this information, we try to explore completely about the data. Next, we can say this is called as data analytics. Okay, data analytics is nothing but using this statistics, using this inferential statistics, hypothesis testing, visualization, everything will be doing some analytics on our data, data analytics. Once the data analytics is done, we completely understand about data, then we will try to decide what insights I can pull and what kind of machine learning can be implemented on this data. Now the question is, what machine learning? I can say, what machine learning? What do you mean by what machine learning? Either to go for a regression model, or to go for a classification model, or to go for a clustering model. If it is a regression model, then what would be a dependent variable? What would be independent variable? It is a clustering model, then what kind of clusters you want to do. Against a classification model, what type of algorithms you are trying to apply with the classification. Then after doing that, machine learning model has been built, we'll be testing our model with the performance metrics. Okay, what is the performance metric? The performance metrics is to check whether the model is performing proper or not, where we will split our data to training and testing. After splitting the data to training and testing, we'll be training our data, we'll be training our model using the training data. After the model is trained, then we'll be testing our model using the testing data. Then the testing data would be done with the performance check. The performance check has a different ways, where depending upon what kind of model you are using or what kind of algorithm you are using, the performance metrics varies. For example, let me say, if you're using regression, the performance metrics is R square. If you're using something called classification, the performance metrics can be confusion matrix, accuracy, so and so, right? So now after the performance is up to the mark, then we say yes, my model is able to do. If your performance is not up to the mark, then again, okay, what ML, what kind of algorithm to use. If here also you're not satisfied, then again go back to your data analytics. You also not pro, then go back to your EDA, then go back to data cleaning, then go back to data collection. This is something like usually happens in a agile way, okay, where we keep on iterating it. Okay, as in this is how the machine learning model would work. Now, if the performance is up to the mark, then we say yes. Now the model is up to the mark. I can make my end users to use it. Now the question is, how will you make your end users to use? So whatever the model you have built, this model will be given it something called as an API, called as application programming interface. This API is something where whatever the model you have built will be given like a function. Okay, like a function, and I say, okay, you pass all these parameters to this model, okay, to this API. This API will do some prediction. It returns back the results to you. That is what this API will do. Whatever the model you built, you convert this model to an API. This API will do as the prediction, and it gives back the result to you. This is other process. How to build this API? This API can be built using Flask. This API can be built using some H5, and there are other ways as well. Okay, the most importantly in machine learning will be building using Flask. Okay, so we will understand how to build a simple linear regression model. Okay, then how to convert your model to how to use the Flask architecture, and how to convert your model as an API. How to run the API using one of the powerful tool called as Postman. Okay, people who are already into development would have been understood by this time what is Postman. Okay, Postman is an application which is used to check the API, where I want to check whether my API is working properly or not. I can't do design because I'm not a front-end engineer. I don't know about HTML, I don't know about CSS, I don't know about JavaScript. I can't build a beautiful designs like this. Okay, if you don't want to do that, then do one thing. Just check and tell us whether your API is working properly or not. Okay, if you want to check whether API is performing properly or not, put your API into Postman. The Postman will ask the request just like how your front-end people will ask in the UI, and it will give back the result. If it is working right in Postman, then you can say, yes, boss, it's working fine now, you take it. That is what we'll be giving for UI people. Okay, this Postman is an application which is used to check the APIs. People who are into testing already knows about it. People who are developers already knows about it. People who are completely new about it, just understand Postman is an application which is used to check the performance of an API as well as to check whether API is performing properly or not with respect to the given parameters and whether you're getting the expected result or not. Okay, so I'll also show you today so how to work on Postman, how to build the API and using the Flask architecture. So we are building the decision tree for one of the very simpler data set called as iris data set. Okay, I don't want to make things complex here because our intention behind this particular module in our learning is to understand how to build an API and how to build a decision tree. Only two steps. Okay, so how complex we can make the decision tree, what are the different performance metrics, then how to do the hyperparameter tuning, that we will be learning in the industry applications of our decision tree. Okay, that would be our next class. But in today's class, we'll just try to understand how to build a decision tree using the sklearn package, then how to convert your decision tree model to an API. That is what our intention is. So we are not bothered about the hyperparameter tuning and how exactly to build a machine learning model in the industry. That is our next class. We'll be doing it later. Okay, so let us start working on the necessary packages, right? So what we do first is we'll be importing the following packages. The packages are this. We will be importing these many packages: sklearn import datasets, sklearn.tree import decision tree classifier, sklearn.model selection import train template, sklearn.metrics import accuracy score, import joblib. Okay, so these are the necessary libraries where I want everyone to load this in a new file. Assuming that you people have loaded all these packages and you made it to run this. Okay, let me say I'm just running this. You says import joblib. If in case if you are getting some error telling it as I have not found joblib or I have not found sklearn, so you need to install it, where I can say pip install okay joblib. Okay, so you're trying to install joblib. For me it says requirement satisfied because I've already installed joblib. If you're getting error, then yes, you need to see to it whether you have installed pip properly. The rest of the people, if you say that if you are getting telling us joblib not found, please install joblib like this: pip install joblib. As simple as that. So necessary packages wherever as and then required, you need to do it. Now I'll be creating the function, right? The function is to train the model. Okay, the function is to train the model. So what I'll do is, usually what's the process? The process of building any decision tree or any kind of machine learning model, what it would be? It would be that, okay, load the data set, do data analytics, do feature engineering, then work on missing value handling, work on, I mean, the same feature engineering, data transformation, data handling missing values, all those steps, correct. After that, select which should be a dependent variable, which should be an independent variable, select the algorithm, then train the model using the training data set, correct. Now I'm assuming that I'm using one of the standard data set called as iris data set, where the feature engineering is not required. You already understood about the data set using some data analytics. Directly we are going for model building. So I'll be writing a function here. The function here is train model. Okay, I said def train model. This is a function, train underscore model. Okay, now when I train the model, I want you people to say load the data set. What data set you want to load? I want to load the iris data set. Okay, so I say iris underscore df is equal to dataset dot load iris. Datasets dot load iris. So we are loading the iris dataset. So after in the iris data set, I need to convert my data to x and y, where x is my independent variable and y is my dependent variable. So here I have x is equal to iris underscore df dot data, iris underscore df dot data. So in iris df, there is something called as data that I'll be putting in a variable called as x. It is my independent variable, which is sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. All these are called as your. When I assume that we are in our previous sessions, we have understood about the iris data set. If you really want to understand about iris data set, you can really go ahead, where I'll just run and show you people how it is. People who are in new for this. So I'll just do iris underscore df. See, here we have something like this. We have 4 columns. Okay, the 4 columns naming set is given at the bottom, right? It says Setosa, Virginica, versicolor are our dependent column, is our target. Then we have something called as sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Those are our column names. See, we have here sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. So those are our columns. So I want this sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, which is your these values: 4.9, 3.1, 1.4, 0.2, 5.1, 3.5, 1.5, 0.2. So these are our independent variables. Okay, all these independent variables, I want to put in a variable called as x, and the dependent variable we need to put in a variable called as y. So I say irisdf dot data, I'll put it in x. Then what to be deployed in y? So what to deploy in y is iris df dot target. Okay, so I say y is equal to iris underscore df dot target. Okay, this is my y. So now we got x and y anyways. Now I need to split my data into training and testing. So which function is to switch our data to training and testing? So I say x underscore train is my one variable. Then x underscore train, x underscore test. X underscore test is my one more variable. Okay, then I have y underscore train. Then we have y underscore test. Okay, now what need to be called, which function? Yes, the train test split function need to be called. So I'll be calling this train test split function, and I say what you want to train test split. Then I'll be passing my x and y to it. Then I'll say how much you want for testing. So I say let me give around 75% for training and 25% for testing. So 0.25, let me say. Okay, test size is 0.25. So this is what I given. Now my data is ready. I need to build my decision tree. So how to build your decision tree? We in sklearn we already have a package called function called a decision tree classifier. So what I'll do, I'll say something called as decision tree classifier. Okay, I'll call decision tree classifier. So to train my model, I'll be using a function called as fit. To test my model, I'll be using a function called as predict. So it's a decision tree classifier dot fit. Okay, you need to fit on what? I need to fit on the data called as x train and y train, because it is our x train y, because it's our supervised machine learning model. We are going both x train and y. Then we say dot fit. So we have decision classifier dot fit extend dot y train dot fit. Now it will be stored in a variable. This variable can be anything. I'll be storing a variable called as dt. Okay, so model will be built, right? So now after the dt is done, I want to understand what is my accuracy of my model. To understand the accuracy of your model, I say predict. Predict on what? Predict on the testing data. So I say you already built a decision tree, right? Using decision tree, now test predict on what? Predict on my testing data. So it's a predict on my x underscore test. Okay, so after predicting on the testing data, I'll be getting some result, right? I'll be storing this result in one more variable. Which variable? Let me say preds. Okay, so prediction is done now. So now I want to check my accuracy. I want to check how good is my model. So I have already something called as accuracy and accuracy score, right? So what I'll say, I'll be storing this accuracy in a variable called as accuracy. Then I'll be calling one function called as accuracy underscore score. This accuracy underscore score. I'll be taking accuracy underscore score. Then this accuracy underscore score, I'll be passing what? I'll be passing the y test, because y test is there to is the actual data. The output of what predicted will be there in preds. So both of that I'll be storing a variable called as accuracy. Now what I'll do is I have the accuracy there. I'll be printing what is the accuracy of my model. So I can say like this, print the accuracy of your model is, then we can say it's like formatting. I can say like this, model is a high level, we can say this, or else you can directly say with the other way also, dot format. Okay, what format? Format of accuracy. This is one way of doing it. Good. So the accuracy of model is accurate. That is whatever what you need to fill in this space is the format your accuracy, and you need to fill it. So accuracy whatever is that will be filled. Not only this, I'll also do one more thing. I'll push this model to a what I can say with something called as a job lib model. I'll say what is this job lib? Okay, when I have the model already with us, right? So I want to make this, well, you built your model called as decision tree, right? This decision tree model has to be live in terms of what? Okay, Vinay, you have been trained a model now. Let me say tomorrow I want to make some prediction. I can't make my time to rebuild the model once again. Oh, is it so? Then you already have a trained model which is live. Yes. How is that? What I do is, when you have this decision tree, put it to something called as pickle, or you can put it to something called as a job lib. These are the two powerful ways where you can make your machine learning model live. If you can just push it, it will be keeping like a serialization object in such a way that whenever you want, you can just load this job lib or pickle, then you can start making the prediction. No need of training the model again and again. No need of training, because let me say in my case, like in our case, whatever we are doing, we are able to build the model with 2 seconds or max like 3 seconds or 5 seconds, provided I have like around 20,000 records. It is 20,000, I mean sorry, 20 lakh records, or let me say around 2 crore records. If I want to train, it would be taking somewhere around 1 minute of time. In real time, it is not possible to train each and every time and give some results. Rather what we do is, one time we would have already trained, and the trained model will be put in one box. This box is a serialization object. We can use this box whenever we want. Just load this box and say, boss, do the prediction. Now your question must be, hey Vinay, then you mean to say that this box must be live always? Yes. To make this box live, we'll be putting into an object called as a job lib object, or you can put in something called as a pickle object. That's what we are trying to do. I'll be pushing this DT. What is this DT? The DT is a decision tree model which we have already trained. Now this trained model will be put in a package. We put in a box called as a job lib. Now the question is how to put this into a job lib, right? So what I do is, I'll be pushing this code to the job lib. The code for that is joblib.dump. Okay, I'll be just pushing this model to a job lib. Then I'll say joblib.dump. Hey, what is the joblib.dump? Can you please explain us on this? Okay, sure. I'll say joblib.dump. What you want to dump? I want to dump my decision tree. Okay, how you want to dump? How I want to dump is, what is your model now? Presently my model is named as DT. Okay, your model is named as DT, right? Okay, what do you want to put in job lib? I want to say I am giving some name to this job lib. I want to give this name for this decision tree, so that you can just dump it somewhere. So let's see what happens. Okay, job lib.dump. Then I say dump this decision tree. Okay, then give it some name, whatever name you want. For your convenience you can give it. That's not a problem. It's not hard control. I said iris model. I can just give this iris model dot model. I'm writing the function. So I'm done with this. The decision tree now is put into iris model dot model. This iris dot model is a job lib model where it would be live whenever we want, and we can just load this and start using it. As simple as that. Okay, now I'll just run this. Let's see what happens. So the train model is there. It's a function, right? You can't expect and say, Vinay, we are not getting any output. We don't get any output as of now, because, okay, because you are not able to, when you're not call the function. If you call the train model function, of course, you'll be getting some output. So the model is ready now. Okay, the model is ready. And if you call that particular function, you'll be able to get the output, right? So now what I'll do is, I'll be writing one code. where if the particular path, okay, I'll be importing the other libraries like this, where I'll be importing the Flask RESTful. I don't want to waste time. I'll just paste my previous file here. So what I'll do is I'll be importing few other files. Which are the files? The files are, I want to import OS. This OS will be giving the current working directory path. So import OS is one part, right? And the second part is I need to import the Flask, okay, because I'll be working on the Flask architecture. So I say from Flask import Flask JSONify request, from Flask import JSONify. Okay, I'll be importing JSONify. Then I need to import Flask and request. Flask and request. Okay. So, and what else you need to import? From RESTful API resource. Okay, from Flask underscore RESTful. I'll tell you what is this RESTful. Okay, from Flask underscore RESTful. Okay, I'll be sharing this code for you, don't worry. Okay, import API and resource. So I say import API, then the resource. Okay, I'll just run this as well. Okay, no errors. Okay, resource, there is some error. Okay, it's capital R, I suppose. Let's see. Yep. Okay, so we have something called as capital R. Right. Okay, so now we will be able to run this. Yep, run. Okay, so now we have already imported JSONify, we have already imported the Flask, we already imported the Flask RESTful API. Everything has been imported. Now we will try to call the I'll try to load the train model function. For that I'll be writing a separate code. What's a separate code? I'll just delete this. Let's not make confusing. So this is what we did. So I'll just forward you this file as well in the group so that you people can work on the same. I have already posted this and the necessary libraries. I want everyone to work on this libraries, load in this libraries. If not, pip install. You need to do pip install for it. Okay, done. Right. So I want everyone to just execute the below functions and make sure that you have loaded the necessary libraries. So we have imported the necessary libraries, import the OS, import Flask, import JSONify. Okay, why do we require this Flask architecture? Is because Flask is a kind of architecture. It acts as a server to run the Python application. So we are using Flask. Okay, so Flask, when we say that we are working an application in the Flask, okay, it can be something like an intermediate package which makes to run the Python application through web. Okay, that is, it's like a intermediator, okay, which acts like whatever the code you're running here, it can run through the server so that it can be connected to the front end as well. So Flask is an architecture, if I can say at the high level, okay, which is used to build the web application in Python. Right. So now we have imported the Flask, we imported the RESTful. Okay, RESTful APIs are something like, when we say application programming interface, there is an API where the program is already been written, okay, and we can use it as and then required. So we have something called as REST APIs. Okay, we can take the in detail if you want in the further sessions what is RESTful APIs, but as of now you can just make a note and understand what is RESTful APIs. Okay, so the RESTful APIs is something where, if I can say in a single line, it just used to send the request from the other end and give some response back to the calling application. For example, if someone asks me like, hey, tell me what is the score, okay, where India has been playing with Australia, what's the score? I just say something called as get score. If I say get score, automatically the score would be there in some other application. It just fetches the score and displays it here. It is something like I'm asking something as a service and it responds something back to us. This is called as the REST APIs. Okay, so this is what a one level what I can say. In detail, if you want to understand, please make a note. If you have any questions, we can ping us, so that for sure we'll be helping you on this. Okay, so something like a RESTful API. So we are importing the Flask RESTful API also. Now what I do is I'm just trying to say, if not os.path.is file iris model. I'll repeat, I'm telling that in the particular location where you are working on this file, if there is not iris model is not present, right, you call the train model function. If in case, if you have already got, if already iris model is there, then you do one thing, joblib.load iris model.model, load the iris model.model, load that model, put it in a variable called as model. What does it mean? I mean to say, if the particular, in this particular folder where you're working, if there's already iris underscore model.model is present already, then just load the model and store a variable called as model. If in case, if that particular file is not ready, if it is not there, then you call some function called as a train model function. This train model function will do all these actions and it will dump your model decision to the iris model.model. Okay, so I'm just running this. Let me see what happens in my case. I think if the decision tree was already present, okay, it will load that, or else a new model called as iris model.model will be there. Yes, you can see here iris model.model was already there in my case, so it didn't try to recreate. In your case, there's something called as iris model.model must have been created. Please check. Okay, let us know if you have any errors. Well, you can just make a small change here. Just remove this yes, make it a single s, decision tree classifier, so that it was some typo error. Please make it a single s and try running it. Sorry, one more thing is you can just remove this fit as well. Remove this fit. There's like dot fit extrain by train. It was again a typo. Decision tree classifier. Do this. Decision classifier dot fit of extrain by train. Okay, just like we are calling a decision tree classifier function, then we are calling the fit function, then we are passing extrain and y train. You change this to iris underscore model, and you change here also iris underscore model, because here we are dumping the file as iris underscore model, right? So here also it has to be like iris underscore model itself. One, like here it can be underscore, here it can be some hyphen. So maintain that naming conventions. Well, so now what I'll be doing is I'll be creating something called as a Flask API, where I say Flask underscore name, okay, which makes me to create a Flask application. I'm putting in a variable called as app. Okay, then I'm calling this API function and I'm making this app as a one of the, you know, like entity, or I can say as I'm creating a kind of bucket where I'm putting this Flask application as an API. Then I'm putting in a variable called as an API. I'll tell you what is this. I'm running a Flask application now. So Flask double underscore name, you know how the constructor works, right? So now I'm calling the Flask here. The Flask is a kind of a object. Okay, I'm just calling this Flask, and I say double underscore name, and I'll putting in a variable called as an app. Okay, this app is a variable which consists of the Flask application or the Flask object which is present in a variable called as app. Now I'm calling the API, okay, class, and I'm passing this app here, that would be placed in a variable called as API. Why am I doing this? As I told you, if you want to run this application with using the Postman or as a web application, you require a Flask architecture. So what I do, whatever the I'm calling the Flask architecture and I'm calling the API as well. So these are two important steps. I'll repeat. One step is to call in the Flask application, and I'm putting this API to an something called as app. I mean, I'm calling this Flask application as an API. I'm bonding this application as an API, or else I'm bonding the Flask as an API. These are the two different steps. Calling the Flask application and converting it as an API. I'll just forward you this code. Yeah, make it fast. Now create a new file here. Create a new Python 3. Okay, create a new file here in the same folder what you're working. Just rename it as app. Okay, just rename it as app. Just rename the file as app. Right? In my file is already exists, so I say something called as app prac or something like this, or appl something like this, and just make it ready. So I've sent you a particular code in the chat. I want everyone to paste it. It looks something like this. So this is a code where here we are importing OS, we are importing Flask, JSONify request from Flask RESTful import API and the resource import joblib. Try to understand what is this code. I am creating a Flask application and putting in API. I'm converting this. I'm calling the API and I'm passing this as an argument. This app is passed as an argument so that we can convert our Flask application as an API and we can start using it so that we can give the endpoint. Then I say if not os.path.isfile iris model.mod. If in case, okay, if iris model is not present, then we need to train the model. Okay, if it was already present, in our case is already present, so let us not worry about this. So we're just loading it. Joblib.load iris model.model. We can just remove this. Okay, because you already have iris model.model. Make sure that is iris underscore, in our case iris underscore model.model. We are putting a variable called as model. Then I'm calling here a function called as make, like creating a class called as make prediction. Okay, in make prediction, here I am inheriting something called as resource. Okay, this is where inheritance comes. Resource is one of the way where we are importing from Flask RESTful API. There is already a lot of functionality which is written in the resource class. We are trying to use it. Okay, I say there is a function called as post. Here I say request dot get JSON. Okay, at static method. Okay, this at static method, like you need to understand, right? Whenever we called it as something called as a decorator. The decorator is, this is a method where already a lot of functionality is running. When I say at static method, this function has some pre-built functionality. On top of it, I'm trying to do something else. For example, the post method is responsible to take, post something from the end user, from here to the end user, that is from the application to the end user, right? So I say that, see, there is post function present in the resource class. It is doing something. On top of it, I'm trying to do something else on top of the post. That is, the post is running in by it is doing a lot of actions in the backend. On top of the post function, I'm trying to write something else, so that you need to execute that also by default, and this as well, so that your functionality will be working like how you want. So I say a static method. This is something called as a decorator, what we use. In our previous recordings, we already have what is decorator and how to use it. Please go back and work in the core Python videos. You already have this, right? Then we say something called as post function has been created here. Then I say request dot get JSON. JSON is something where it's like JavaScript object notation, where we will be sending the values. People who are already into development will be knowing this. People are really very new for the development. What we say is, we can send the values from the front end to the back end through different ways. One can be XML file, or it can be a JSON file, or it can be through the arguments in the URL, whatever it is. If you are sending using the JSON, I say JSON is an formal notation, or a we can say it is a format where we say, okay, you want to send the values in this particular format so that I can use it. I say that I am requesting the JSON file from the front end, that is from the application user. The user need to send me a JSON format is what I'm requesting. Request the user to get the JSON format. Then I'll be putting in a posted data. So whatever the JSON he sends, that I'm putting a variable called as posted data. Then I say posted data sepal length, posted data sepal width, posted data petal length, posted data petal width. Take all these values and put in sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Okay. Now the user has passed sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width. How he is passing, I'll be showing you. Don't worry. Hold on for some time. Now I say model dot predict. Predict whether predict the output for the given sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Okay. So zero mean to say that user can pass multiple values. Take only the first value of what user is passed. Then try to predict which particular class that flower belongs to. Whether it can be a setosa, or it can be a versicolor, it can be a virginica. When I say the model dot predict, okay, the model dot predict, given the sepal length, sepal width, petal width, the output would be in the prediction. If the prediction is equal to 0, then it is setosa. If the prediction is 1, then it is versicolor, else it is virginica. Then I'll return the JSONify object again. I'm accepting something from the front end and I'm returning something to the front end. So I say return JSONify. The prediction is nothing but a predicted class. So whatever is there, that I'm returning it. Then I say API.add make prediction slash predict. So whatever this make prediction is there, I'm converting it as an API and I'm giving it a root called as slash predict. So from the front end now, whoever calls slash predict, then this particular function would be called. I repeat, this particular class would be called. In the front end now, whoever says slash predict, then this make prediction function would be called, or make prediction class would be called. This make prediction class internally executes this post function, right? So I say api.add resource make prediction, give it a variable, give it a root called as slash predict. So now whoever calls this, he will be able to run this. Now if name is equal to main, that is the main function will be executed first. If double underscore name is equal to main, I say app.run debug is equal to true. That is, I'm just running this app. What is app? Is app is nothing but a Flask API. Okay, the Flask object would be run in the backend and all this code would be executed. All this code will be executed automatically. So I say app.run. Okay, automatically all this code will be executed and you must be able to get something in the front end. Let's see how this would happen. Okay, how this would happen. Okay, so before that, I want you people to execute this. Okay, make a note, you are typing as it is, you are making as it is, you are typing the entire code as it is, and I want you people to run this so that you'll be getting something in the backend where it says we are able to run your app. Let's say if I run this, what happens? Okay, so in my case, file not error. Okay, iris underscore model. In my case, it is iris model. It's not iris underscore model. It is iris model. So I just change this. In your case, it would be iris underscore model. Let it be. So when I run this, it says restarting Windows SBI. That's okay. System error will get. Don't worry. I'll tell you why. Okay, restarting Windows. That is, it has to say serving the Flask application. Okay, environment is a production environment. Okay, debug mode is on. Okay, product, sorry, WSGI server is listed. Okay, so it is saying that rather than using a production environment, use WSGI. Don't worry about all these things. It has to say that it is restarting with Windows API reloader. This has to be there. Let me know if anyone is facing errors still here so that we can say yes. So now application is able to run. Why we are not getting any output? I'll tell you. Don't worry about it. Okay, but you're able to run this and we must be getting till here. Now I've already installed Postman. I want you people also to install Postman. It's very easy. Like it's a free open source. Again, I've installed Postman. You people after the session can install the Postman. Open this Postman as an app, right? After opening Postman as an app, I'll be sending you one code. You can keep that in the notepad and store it. So install the Postman and try this. Okay, if you are able to get something like this, right? That where we got you know where we got something like this. Okay, if we're able to get something like this, then mean to say that yes, so your particular file is now executing properly. Now I need to run it. Okay, so if I want to run it, what I'll do is I'll be going to the particular location where the Postman. Okay, now this is a Postman API. Now what I'll do is I'll be running this file. So I'll just say localhost 5000 slash predict. Okay, I'll just do one thing. I'll close it and try to do. What I'll do is I will be going for the location where my particular app is there. In my case, the app is there in a location called as C user documents. Okay, there is something called as Iris API. If you can see, C users Lenovo VTR 2021 machine learning decision tree Iris API. This is a location where I'm doing all my files. Usually whatever the machine learning operations you are doing, it would be there in your users and your computer name. You can just check for it. Now I'll just go here. Okay, I'll just go here, copy this location, and most importantly what you people need to do now is this is your app.ipynb, right? Please make a note. If you have this app.ipynb, now you need to download this file. Download as. Okay, download as py file. Download as .py file. I'll repeat, download this as .py file. So when you download it as .py file, it would be there in downloads. Okay, it will be there in downloads. What you need to do next is go to the folder where you are working decision tree classifier, then upload your a py file. Every .py file is called as a module. We have discussed it in a core Python. Every .py file is called as module. You have just downloaded the py file, select this py file and load it. So once when you load this .py is present here, you can see here app.py is present. Now I'll see to the location where this particular file is there. Okay, so where this particular file is there, in my case it is there here. C uses Lenovo VTR 2021 machine learning decision tree IDs API. Okay, this is the location. I'll just copy this location and I'll go to the command prompt. Then I'll change the location, say cd, and I give this location. Now I'll say Python, you need to run this app.py. Let me say what will be the see. It says yes boss, I'm ready. Now we can paste this http 127.0.0.5000. Okay, you can just paste this. Okay, now I'm running in this particular port. Okay, 127.0.0.1 is to 5000. This is a port number 5000. Since it is a local host, I'm running on my local machine. It's 127.0.0.1. Now what I'll do is I'll go to my Postman. Okay, I'll go to my Postman. Then I'll say localhost 5000, call the predict function. This is what I'm telling now. Localhost 5000 predict function. Then most importantly, in my body, okay, in my body, I'll be passing. Okay, I'll be passing the values. What are all the values? I'll be giving that code to you. Okay, don't worry. What we do here is we will take this. Okay, we'll take this particular code. Then we will be just doing this. I'm posting this. First one is in your Postman. You need to do this. HTTP localhost so and so. Right? HTTP localhost so and so. I can also give that file as it is. So just do this. HTTP localhost 5000. Just do this. First step. Okay, and before that you have to make sure that you are doing this in your command prompt. Go to the location where your file is present, then say python app.py. I'm running this, right? You need to do this. Please make this a copy and put it in a notepad so that while you people are practicing, you need to do the same step. I'll be doing this python app.py, right? I'm just running this. Now after running this python app.py, do this localhost 5000 predict. Go to the Postman and paste this. I'm just pasting this. And in the Postman, here you'll be having something called as body. In the body, you'll be having something called as raw. Select this raw. Here you'll be getting an option how we want to send the data, either in a text format or in a JavaScript format or in a JSON format or HTML format or Excel format. Select JSON here. Then it will say what are the values you need to pass. I'll say I need to pass the sepal length as 5, sepal width as 4.2, petal length as 1.5, petal width as 0.3. I don't know which particular class it belongs to. I'm just passing this. This is what the front end people will do. The front end people will be passing the values like this in a JSON format. Then they'll just push to the predict function. The predict function will does some operation in the backend because we've already written the code. It returns the return type to us, whether telling it as which flower it is. I'll show you how it works. First thing is I'm just giving the format as well. You need to put it in a Postman like this as it is. Okay, now I'll just select this and I'll say predict. Let's see whether it is working fine. Beautiful. See, we got a result as prediction. It is iris setosa. This is the result what I got. This is how the API will work. This is called as an endpoint. This localhost 5000 predict is called as an endpoint. This endpoint will be given to the end users. They will be using this endpoint, this 5000, whether you're using Angular or you're using the React.js or you're using your core PHP, or it can be HTML or CSS, JavaScript, or using some Java, Spring Boot, whatever it is, right? You will be giving this endpoint as a machine learning developers. This endpoint, we are running the application in the server, given the endpoint, and I say that API documentation is, you need to pass these many values. Sepal length, sepal width, petal width has to be passed in the JSON format. They'll be making it ready as, oh yes, we got it now. They say this format would be given to us, then they will pass it. Okay, they'll just pass it for the predict function. The predict function would be executed and it will be giving it a result telling it as your prediction is iris setosa. As simple as that. Now you can change your values here. You can change the values here and you can make again send. It will say, okay, for this values it is virginica, for this value it is so and so. So that prediction would be given to you as an endpoint. Okay, this is where This is something as a machine learning developers you have to do. I will be also teaching you where I've also built a simple application in HTML using HTML and CSS and a Flask, where we'll be designing, okay, a simple HTML CSS, pass all this sepal length, sepal width, petal width as a UI. Then also there I will click on predict. The same function would happen, but here it is without API. Without UI, sorry, it is without UI. I don't know about user interface. I don't know about HTML, CSS. How to check whether my model is working properly or not? Use Postman. In the Postman, pass the API. You'll be getting the values. As simple as that. Okay, so this is how it is. So moreover, whenever we want to check whether my API, whether my machine learning model is working properly or not, convert your model to an API, then use the Postman, use Postman as a service, pass the data as a JSON object, and in the JSON object give the values like this, click on send. So this data would be sent to the backend. The backend will make some prediction. It will be giving you the post request. Then the output will be there here on the screen. This is how it is. Okay, this is the most important way of working on the machine learning application in real time. We were just building the, from now on we will keep on concentrating just on building the application, where we want you people to practice building an API, so that by the end of the by the end of your machine learning phase, you people will be ready like, yes, now I know right from understanding the data, building the machine learning model, converting it to an API, testing an API, and giving back the results. That is how is the expectation in the industry with respect to machine learning. Okay, so I've already shared all these things with you. Okay, if you want, you can just revisit the video and you can understand in a better way. Most importantly, please make sure it has to be the post request while using the Postman API. It's not a get request. We are posting something to the backend, so it has to be the post request. Thank you.